Hi, everybody. I'm Gary, your producer, editor, co host, and Soccer Over Gotham is back for season 5. More interviews, more content, more of you and your voice. This is more than a podcast. You guys know it's a community here. So join our community by following us on social media, liking, subscribing, reviewing, and rating us 5 stars, and sharing our show to anyone who might listen because we're going to do a lot this season. So let's go for a ride together. So, all right, season 5, episode 124, 25,000 downloads around the world later. So, let's just get going. So, what do we have in this episode? First, we have a wild offseason. So, there's tons of drama. Now that it's mostly over and the roster is mainly set, we're going to take a look at who is in, who is out, and then we're going to take top line takeaways and we're turning it towards the regular season. We have a juicy roster rumor coming by way of the Athletic as Yael is still cooking. And then we will look at the schedule, highlight the games we are most looking forward to. And then Gotham has a new jersey. Do we like it? We'll discuss. And we will also discuss what makes this season a success. How high is the bar for this team? We have a game to preview as well, which is crazy. It's coming too fast. But first, I'm here with Noela. How are you, Noela?
Doing great. How are you doing?
I am doing good. This is my first week post college. I graduated.
Congrats. Congratulations.
It's a weird space to be in
I imagine.
because I'm so used to like Thursdays being like I my reports on Thursdays and Sundays. So like I still have the anxiety that I should be doing something.
Right. Something's due today. I gotta go. I
Yes,
gotta move.
but I don't, and it's nice. So I'm gonna relax.
More time for Gotham.
Indeed. So, also, everybody follow Cloud9 on all the social medias. That's your supporter group. Support those who support you. Get a membership if you can. They should be live now. Definitely do that. But let's talk about the off season and our departures. Now, Gotham, as far as the 2024 players returning, as far as minutes are concerned, Gotham returns only 56% of the minutes from last season. The only team less minutes is Portland Thorns, and this came out, I think, before Sophia Smith announced her pregnancy, which is great for her. So I'm sure that number goes down a bit. But Gotham is only returning 56% of the minutes played last season. Now, Noella, I think there's two categories as soon as we can get caught up. There's the expected departures, and then there's the unexpected departures. So during the offseason preview show, I thought that we would lose almost every one of our free agents. I think I was bullish on Zerboni and Mandy, I think.
Hmm.
So I was like a 50-50 on that one. However, I think this roster build last season was unsustainable. So I want to talk about to you and get your opinion on the first wave of losing all of that depth that we have from last season, from Maitani to Sheehan to Zerboni, Betos, and Hyatt.
Yeah, it's definitely, I think some of the names were definitely a surprise from what we had talked about in previous episodes. Players, I mean, me, I remember advocating very strongly for she and saying that I really
Mm-hmm.
thought that she would have been on any team, she is a key component of a midfield and a key component of any championship team. So I was really, really disappointed about her loss. Of course, the veteran presence of Zerboni Betos, it was always going to be a catalyst for championship material, being able to raise players to understand what is necessary to be part of a championship team, always a loss. Hyde and Maitana, of course, always again other solid options in the midfield and the defense and have had history with Gotham that I think fans are going to miss them as well. Like they're not just players, of course, and I think it's really beautiful to see that in Gotham fans that we see everyone as not just players but as people, and as people they were a great part of our community, doing great work in New York and New Jersey, and it's unfortunate to see them head out. But on the flip side, I am really, really happy to see Mandy return. Silva, of course, had just signed with us recently, so of course we were expecting her to be able to stay on for longer. But Mandy Freeman, especially, I think, combines both things, right? A player that has played a lot of minutes, understands Juan Carlos Amoros's system, understands his ideas for how the team should build out from the back and continue to attack through the midfield, and has that veteran presence. So really, really happy to see her back. And Silva, of course, continuing to develop in her position, I think is going to be a really scary threat for a lot of teams throughout the league.
What an interesting story Mandy is. Obviously, she's the longest tenure player on the club, and she moved from center back to outside back. And I think she outperformed Jenna Nice longer down the stretch as far as two-way play was concerned. She looked good on both sides of the ball, and I think Jenna being, we'll get to it, but Jenna being on the bench for the semifinal game, I think Mandy earned that spot. And it's crazy to think about that because Jenna's, I mean, essentially in the running for like the starting left back for the national team.
Right.
But Mandy was excellent. So I'm glad to see her back. And yeah, we'll talk about that. But of all, let's think about the moves that we didn't expect. First,
Yes.
there was Ryan following her heart to Houston, Crystal Dunn to PSG, Lynn to Seattle, Jenna to Arsenal, and then Smith to Houston. I think just your overall thoughts on that. And then what move do you think hurts the most?
They were all really painful. I'm not gonna lie. It was, I think, surprising in some sense and surprising not, because of course Ryan to Houston, understandably wanting to go somewhere that she's comfortable with, understands, and has a lot of history in. I was very surprised by Jenna's move. Not just from a personal standpoint, but I think from the club perspective. I think we had, I think Yale and Amaros like both have her in high regard. So I wonder on whose behalf it might have been more or less like pushed for the deal. I think it's going to be, of course, a great spot for her to grow. The league in England is so competitive. It's such a high caliber of play. Don't know if you, I'm most likely caught the Japan versus US game, but of course, a whole bunch of the Japanese national players also play in England. So she's going to be competing against the highest caliber of players, arguably in the world. So it's an exciting move for her career, I think. But it's I think biased again also of a wingback appreciation. But I think it was a tough loss always for us to lose her.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you on Jenna, but I think it's a good spot for her just because she's going to play playing opposite side Fox, and both of
Hmm.
those are national team defenders, so they're going to get used to each other. And when one goes forward, one can stay back, and
Right.
that interplay is going to definitely help her grow as a player, which is nice. I think Ryan is the big one that hurts the most for me, just because she was most of our offense last season. I think 4 assists, 4 goals, 5 assists. She was all over the pitch, and her trajectory was such an incredible jump last season that I just wanted to see her here and watch her grow. And seeing these players leave, it's funny to see how they're all like the face of their new team.
Right.
That's how crazy this roster was. Like Yasmin is in all their advertisements. She's the one rocking the jersey in their new. We'll talk about that later. But like Lynn's wearing their jersey,
Well,
so
and I
it's
think you've pointed out
yeah.
before, right, where we had essentially two starting teams on one
Hmm.
roster last year, and it was
Hmm.
always going to be unsustainable.
Yeah, no other roster would have Jenna and Lynn on the bench in the semifinal.
Exactly.
Nobody. So yeah, Ryan I think is the one that hurts for me, but what a, is what it is. However, we are so back. We have Yael is just cooking and brought in Gabby Portillo, FIFA best 11 attacker, Shelby Hogan as a backup, and Jalen Howell. And then Midge is considered to be almost 100% healthy.
Ooh.
So that she might make the opening game. We'll see. But I hope that they take her slowly, get her back up and no turf for a little while, hopefully.
Yeah, no. The knee injury is always going to be tough.
Yeah. So your thoughts on Yael bringing in some, I mean, top talent?
Really excited to see Portillo. Like, I think
Hmm.
she has had a really strong year, of course, being honored as one of the best around the world. Jalen Howe, I think, is also a really exciting player. I think we've definitely talked about her in previous episodes where her experience, not only at the college level, but in the youth national team, when she was in the national team pool as well, competing and getting lots of valuable minutes. I think she is a player that has a lot of potential that still hasn't fully been tapped into, which is crazy to think considering her immense talent already and production and performance that she's played already. I think, especially with Sheehan gone and the pain of that and losing that facilitator, I think she is going to be really great. I think out of the three of Hogan, Portillo, and Howell, I think Jalen Howell will hopefully be a player that can really tap into the Amaro system, really coordinate well with her center backs, with her wing backs, and see if she can provide her perspective on the field and really get players that we have up top. I mean, we got a great starting three lineup that's also returning in Esther. I think she's going to have a lot of different options to combine and attack with.
I am 100% with you on that. I think Jalen Howell could be a gem this season. She's had a rough go of it.
Mhm.
Obviously, she went to racing, and I always talk trash about racing, but but I think that she had a bad go of it there, and then going to Seattle for a couple months, whatever. Now she's here. She's an enforcer, so she's going to be able to work well with Martin. And as far as defensively, she can also get forward. And if you've seen some of the highlights from the preseason games, she's in the mix of every header in the box.
Yes.
She's going to be a physical player. So I think everything you said and more, she's going to be excellent. And I can't wait to see her in a Gotham uniform. Then Gotham did something interesting. They're building, I guess, a sustainable roster this time. So bringing in rookies, not just one, not just two. We got 5 or 6 rookies coming in here, which is, we're not used to this at all. And we have a UCLA to Gotham pipeline, which has Ryan Campbell, we have Lily Reel, and we have Sophia Cook. We brought in Kai Harper from Minnesota. We brought in Stella, the prodigy from Ghana. And we also have, I still consider her a rookie, but Mac Witham, her official contract started this in January. Your thoughts on this group, and who are you excited to see the most?
Really, really, really impressive youth group here. I think the talent is through the roof. Of course, all the girls from UCLA have had a competitive past season and the recent college. And I think Campbell, as much as anyone, I think potentially if she gets some minutes and trust from Amaros, maybe even can compete for a starting position. Because I think the other thing too that we forget to realize and analyze is that all of these players that already have like their starting, I think we have an idea of what our starting 11 would be, right? And I think, of course, Berger is our go-to, but God forbid, there's a problem with injuries or personal problems as we've seen in the past with Fava. Like, I think having Campbell there, just absorbing all of one of the greatest goalkeepers in German national history, I think is going to be really, really valuable for her. And I know she's going to be able to get different minutes depending on what competitions Gotham is going to compete throughout the year as well. I think she has as much of a shot as anyone to be able to get a lot of really good minutes. On the other end, also attacking wise, I think Stella, I think has been incredible. I know she recently captained the U20 Ghana team. Had, I believe, 2 goals and 1 assist in 3 games, and had an incredible 20, 21, how many goal attempts? I believe 22. So she knows how to create options, understands how to put herself in good positions in front of goal. And again, working with Jalen Howell, working with wingbacks that are going to provide options like Freeman, I think she's going to be able to really take advantage of this system and really hopefully be trusted with minutes. I think that's always the tough thing, and we see that with the U.S. women's national team, where it's how can you balance the new youth and combine them and interweave them with veteran style play, with players that kind of already have a lot of experience. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Juan Carlos Amaros puts together this team and tries to integrate these new players and the younger players into the system.
Yeah, 100% with that. And one thing I really like about this group of players, I know it's a side thing, but they all have big personalities, which they're all seem to be a little bit goofy and a little bit funny,
Yes.
especially Ryan Campbell. She seems to be like in all the videos being goofy, which is funny. And it's good because like, for the fans itself, like people were questioning like, is this team having fun?
Right.
Because it seemed like towards the end of the season, the team was just not having that much fun. It was a long season last season. It was a grind, but it seemed like that was. But having these personalities in the roster seemed to lighten everything up, and I think they're good. They're obviously good players. Lily is a tank. She's an excellent
Yes.
defender. I think she's going to get minutes. I think she is probably the one that's going to get the most minutes out of all of them.
Hmm.
I would not discount Shapansky from Pitt. I think she's going to get some minutes out, especially on the outside and the left side. But I think she could get in that Rookie of the Year conversation if she gets enough minutes. I think she led the NCAA in assists for almost 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
She can play from both sides. I think she's excellent, and she's also got a good personality as well. So I can't wait to interview her and talk to her. But I'm really impressed with this group, and I do think I don't want to discount Mac Witham. I know she's like 14. I know, and I've seen some of these videos up in preseason of her, and she's blowing by players, muscling them off the ball, getting down the field, taking on defenders, and she's intense. There was there's one moment where in the preseason where they're doing the "How was your offseason in one word," and players were like, "Fun, too short, whatever." And then she walks in and she's like, "Preparing." I'm like,
She's
like
so
that's
funny.
exactly what I expected her to say. Exactly, because she's intense.
For her age,
Yeah.
it's so impressive. Her mentality, her presence she has such a big presence for her age. It's only
Hmm.
it's incredible to think that she's only 14 and she's another player that the sky is the limit.
Yeah. So some players are just rare.
Hmm.
When I first started following, let's just give you an example, like the New York Red Bulls, and the coach Marsh said that there's this player coming in, and he's 15 years old, and he's walking into this group, and he's pushing all the veterans to get better, and he's standing up to everybody and forcing them to get. And that was Tyler Adams.
Oh,
He was
of
just like
course.
a different player,
Hmm.
and I feel like Mac is that type of mentality player, where I think she's going to push everybody to get better, and the future is super bright for her. I just hope we take her time and get her up there, but she could be special.
Agreed,
Absolutely
100%.
special. Yeah. Well, fans, we also have a incredible roster rumor coming by the way of the Athletic. So Gotham FC are apparently in advanced talks with Manchester United over the proposed loan signing of Brazil forward Gacy. The Women's Super League club is hoping to conclude the deal before March 14th, before the NWSL season starts. Noela, this is an incredible get if Gotham can get her. Yale is still cooking.
No, of course. The experience that Casey has played Madrid CFF, Barcelona, of course, Man United, 28 appearances. She is an incredible player with a lot of talent, young as well, right? She's only 26. I think, and I'm really happy for Yale to be able to have such a big scope of players. I think she's unafraid of looking in any pool to find talent. And I think that's really, really critical. And sometimes I don't want to name names, but I think, there's some clubs that maybe are a bit more narrower in their terms of like where to find talent. And it's tough being a scout, having a collective view of the talent across the world is a really tough thing. But I think she has such a good eye to be able to find these gems of players that come from all over. And I guess it especially, I think, is going to be a really, really strong option if we manage to sign her.
Yeah, if we get her, I'd just an incredible signing. And I don't know. I was talking to Amanda Westlake, who is an amazing person, and I can't wait to meet her in person and get her on the show as well. But like we're talking about the super team, and on paper, this isn't the super team, right? It's
No.
not. However, if we're looking at a front line of her, Midge, Esther,
Hmm.
Stevens, Lavelle, right? And Gabby, how do you get all those players on the field at the same time? And I mean, isn't this still a super team if that is your front attack?
Exactly. And I think that's where Juan Carlos Alvarez has proven himself. Like over the past few years, I've been really impressed to see him really coordinate and balance and take into consideration the physical toll that these games and these minutes take on these players. And he understands as well as anyone, I think, that it's not a bad thing to have all these players on your roster because that just means you're able to filter in and see which player is more necessary for a particular game. Or there's a system that perhaps a team is looking to play and then he's able to counteract it and say, you know what, I'm going to go out and play a player that might be a little bit more faster, a player that might be a little bit bigger. And that has been a really, really strong suit of his. So getting a player like Eze, I think, only helps the team. It won't ever hurt.
I think the goal this offseason was getting players for chance creation. Even though, like, Gotham was scoring goals at the end of the season by the bunches, it wasn't like, I know that he was always seemed to be not like complaining, but mentioning like chance creation in all the post game pressers. And Gotham is winning the field tilt battle. There's so much going on in the other team's field. They're holding them in their end, but we're just not creating quality chances. And like, I don't want to say anything bad about this player because I love this player, but like Delaney Sheehan playing in the essentially attacking mid position all last season, her first assist came in the playoffs, right? That's, again, I love her as a player, but I was always talking about that end product. Got to get more end product. Got to get more assists. Got to get more goals, right? Especially from that position. Now bringing in players like Portillo, like Shapansky, like Cook, getting Midge back on the field, and so this is going to be, I think, if we can keep the same intensity up, we're going to be able to create more chances, and I think that's going to lead to a lot more goals this season. Hopefully.
I want to follow up on that point that you had mentioned Sheehan, because I think it's really interesting to kind of analyze. Of course, it's undisputable she's a great player, undisputable that she's a game changer. But sometimes on the field, it's more of like a chemistry thing, right? Where you can have these really, really strong players individually, but then collectively, they just don't mesh as well as potentially other teams do. And I think that may have been, and I think you're also hinting at it before, where you're saying, the team looks like they're having a lot more fun this season, like, or at least, in the videos and the content that we get, but they seem to be like a little bit more looser, a little bit more of like a fresh edge. And I think that's a really big point that certain club owners or certain managers don't maybe take as much time to realize, where like on paper you can bring in all these great players, but if they don't actually get along, or maybe not even get along personally, but just like understand each other from the football perspective, it's never going to work, and it's never going to create those actual concrete like goal scoring opportunities that you need for a team to be a championship level. So I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, having Esther on the team, she's a killer, and she just needs more service. And I think that the way this roster is built this season, getting Midge coming back from the edge, my cat's walking behind me all the time. She's cute, but it is what it is. So I'm hoping we get a lot more chance creation this season. So let's talk about things that we can get excited about for this season. Yeah, Elle put out this long post about, but basically to sum it up, as she said, we see you and we hear you, and I want you to know that our commitment to excellence on and off the field remains stronger than ever. And then, like, Noela, we've been covering this team for a while now, and in 2022, this was like the worst team in the league, one of the worst teams in league history. It was a new coach that was essentially over his head, staff that wasn't fully realized. I mean, we had Livingstone, Handcuff, Loftman. It was just an unsustainable situation. Then you go to 2023, and this was like, we called it the win now mode, where Gotham brought in the most experienced players that they could find, which is probably the oldest roster on record. It was O'Hara, Long, Shim, Farrelly, Mewis, Kriegs, Betos. It was successful, but ultimately it's unsustainable because we only had one rookie and the players were aging out, and it's just not a sustainable build. So 24 was the super team. This was the maxed out credit card edition of Gotham. Nearly every player was a starter on the roster. Largest salaries were pushed into like bonus pay just to afford it. There was no rookies essentially. It was just, as we saw in this offseason, it's just unsustainable, right? So this season, we have, I think, 7 rookies we talked about, longer contracts. Only 7 contracts end in 25, and Stevens' contract has an option year. So this is very good, and it's long-term focused. So just your thoughts on the sustainability of this roster and what we should be seeing going forward.
Of course, in recent years, in comparison, a lot more sustainable. I think a lot more realistic. I think gives the options for a lot of players to have room to grow. Longer contracts, I think specifically, not even just from a business standpoint, but from like a player standpoint. I know you'd be a lot more comfortable going into work if you know, okay, my contract is going to support me until X date, and there's no rush for me to do X, Y, or Z. I'm just being encouraged to put out the best product that I can. So I think that's going to be really valuable for a lot of these younger players, or for a lot of these players that are like new, maybe even to the league here, to be able to understand the style of play and understand our system. I think it's going to be, I think, critical to consider the remaining two roster spots. I think, from a personal standpoint, my own opinion, I think I would like to fill those positions either with like a holding center midfielder or another potential fullback, just to see if again, because of the flexibility I think that we have with this team, that there's never a position that like we'll say, okay, we're kind of shutting it down and we don't need any more of these players. But I do think from a sixth position, maybe even another center back might help out the team a little bit more. But I hope they take. I mean, Yale always does a great job, I think, in terms of also being really respectful and considering the fans and considering the expectations that fans have. I think she's done it's undisputed, right, that she's done an incredible job of 2022, 2025, 3 years, turning it from the last team to a championship, and then again, still competing last year. I mean, I know we had championship expectations, but I think I couldn't consider last year a failure at all because of the amount of grit and hard work that the team put out. So I think she's done an incredible job, and I think that's undisputed. So as long as they continue to give these players time and space, I think we're in a great position.
Yeah, you know how I love youth development. So this is going to be this is my favorite roster I think we've covered so far, just because we have stars. Like nothing makes me happier than seeing a player like Jenna Neiswanger just like take the league by storm, and you're watching a player and you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't in our bag a week ago. And like, just watching that player level up, like Brunina, how she started and now she's so confident and running up the field and doing her thing. So I love that. And I think in the global soccer marketplace, buying low, selling high, and look at Yasmin Ryan. We got a record-breaking deal for her leaving this club, and she leveled up. So that's something that makes me very happy. So I'm excited to see these young players grow up, and this is going to be a sustainable, and hopefully they end up staying here for a long time. Next, we're going to talk about the schedule, and first game is on the 15th of March away at Lynn's Seattle Reign. That's going to be, also Cassie Miller as well in Seattle. That's going to be a fun game, 10 o'clock at night. It's a good start for this team. We're going to cover that game in a minute. But Noela, what I think is interesting about this schedule, and the thing I always look for right away, is Houston. Like I'm so used to playing Houston mid-season in that crazy 100+ degree weather in Houston. Yeah. We got them March 28th away. Awesome. I love that we get to play them in March and don't have to play them away for the rest of the season. That's great. Another thing about this schedule is it is very balanced. Last season, we were done with the Courage by like the end of April, early May. But this time, it seems like every team is balanced, and we're going to see teams early in the season and then late in the season. And so it's not going to be feel like we're playing the same team like we did Washington last year. I feel like we played them like every other week for like 2 months. Right. But is any of these games really jump out at you?
Not the game so much, but I remember when I was looking at the first part of the schedule for March and April, I was kind of like hit by the fact that we do have a lot more away games. We only got 2 home games those first 2 months of March and April, which, again, for a newish team, kind of getting to know each other, being away on the road, will it be a factor? I don't know. I hope not, but it'll definitely force the players to kind of have to like really bond and trust each other really quickly. So it could work in our favor. But I remember I was looking at it and I was like, March and April, that's going to be a little tough, I think.
You're right. And it's not just like away games. These are like, again, Houston, right. LA, Portland. So they're going to the West Coast, taking car trips right away. So yeah, this is going to be a bonding experience for this team. I'm also really looking forward to the March 23rd game, Orlando at home. So obviously, Marta could be the last time we see her. I'm always thinking about that.
No, don't
Could
say
be
that.
in person.
Oh, well, okay.
So in person. So I'm excited to see that, but I'm still I still got a little thing about. I think that if Gotham got through Washington and we won that shootout, I think we would have beaten Orlando.
The
I think we
matchups.
had, yeah, I think the matchup was better us against Orlando versus Washington versus Orlando.
Mhm.
So I'm mad about that. So I want to see us go in there and show them what we could have been in that final. Um, but yeah, and then I think down the stretch, we had the courage November 2nd. That game's going to mean something. And then coming down the stretch, we also have pretty not crazy hard schedule. We have Racing Louisville. We have KC, who's going to be obviously going to be tough, but Seattle and Portland have a lot of stuff going on. Same with Bay FC, so it might be a decent stretch down the end there to get healthy, pick up some points
Mhm.
on our way to the playoffs, hopefully. So, what do you think? Being that there's a lot less competitions this season, what makes this season a success for you, Noella? Are you win or else?
No, no, never. I don't think. I think we want to think that way, right, from a passion standpoint. But I think
Mhm.
the success for this team, for these players, should be taking each game one at a time, right? Which is, I
Mhm.
think, always put out there as a important mentality, and then improving from game to game. I think, especially with, again, this March April stretch was going to be really really tough for them. I think as long I won't be surprised if they struggle. I won't lie. I think they will. The little movements and the motions and little things that have to sync up, that you don't get to really do until you're actually competing in the league, I think will take some time. But then as long as each game, you see less errors, or you see more combination plays, or you see more chances on goal, as long as they're progressing from game to game, I think that will put them in a good position to make playoffs. And then from there, of course, that's a whole different story. So I think a success for this season will be the team progressively getting better, and um, making a, because it's a marathon. So as long as they're not like sprinting the first few games, or having little patches of like little sprints, if they can progressively get better and enter the playoffs with momentum, I think that will be a really good success.
I'm looking at that Club World Cup. I'm looking at
Oh.
that. So the CONCACAF games in May
Hmm.
are super important to me. Like the thing I said is on the other last episode we did, is like I don't like I need this. I need Gotham to win this tournament
Oh.
because I want to see Gotham against the better teams in the world, the Barcelonas, the Chelseas, I think as a club, if you want to be a global brand, that's how you do it. You play
That's
the
very
best
true.
teams in the world and you show up. So, and like we played Chelsea last season, but it was like, I don't know, we had 16, 17 players missing from that game.
Right.
So it wasn't like, that's not full strength Gotham.
Mhm.
So I think a full strength Gotham can compete against those teams. So I want to see it. So yeah. And I do agree with you. I don't think they have to win the championship, but I would like them to win something, whether it's that tournament, whether it's the Shield, whether it's the championship. I would like to see them win something this season. I think they're good enough to do that. I know. So, other things, we have a brand new jersey. It is
Ooh.
blue. It is definitely blue. And just your thoughts on the Gotham jersey, and then we'll talk about which other jerseys you like. Thoughts?
I've always been a big fan of blue. I mean, I know it's
Hmm.
like a whole wash of it, but I don't mind it. I think it's cute. I think it looks great. There were different other jerseys that I did. I mean, I love Jasmine Ryan. Like the Houston jersey, that one's really powerful. I love that pink.
Yeah, that one hurts me.
She looks great. I love it. But yeah.
Yeah. As far as the Gotham jersey is concerned, I love the blue.
Mm.
Love it. That's a very, obviously sky blue. So it's very throwback, I love it. I love it. The shoulders are weird. And I think Gotham knows this. So like if you see most of the pictures, they're all wearing like shirts over it or
Oh my
like
God.
like a jacket over it. So that's when I first saw it. I first saw it with they were wearing like I think it was Jalen Howell wearing like a jacket over. I'm like, wow, that is a fantastic jersey.
Mhm.
And they showed the shoulders. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what the redacted. Someone called it the redacted jersey. I
Oh
think
my
that's kind of
God.
funny, and I think that's close. But I think it's gonna look great in person,
Hmm.
and especially like I think it'll look better if it was all black sleeves. So I think if the players that like roll their sleeves up a little bit, I think
Hmm.
it's gonna look great. But I got to wait to see it in
As long as you
person.
go
But
roll it up, it'll look great.
yeah, I'm mixed. I'm mixed on this jersey, but I love the blue. Love it. Speaking of the other jerseys, I am with you. I think the Houston jersey is like that's a chef's kiss, like shot across the bow to Orlando, like taking their purple. Because you know, like there's the
Yeah.
the
Yeah, yeah,
space war there. So I think that's good, and Yaz looks fantastic in the jersey as well. I like the simplistic green of racing.
Oh,
I kind of
interesting.
like that.
Okay.
The black socks, the black shorts,
Hmm.
and just that like forest green. It's just different. It doesn't try to be too much. It's just like for me, it's just like different and just right. I also I really like the courage that like that pink fuchsia, whatever color that is.
Yes.
I think is excellent as well. Yeah, those are probably my two favorites out of all those. And one other thing about our jersey, the best thing I like about this jersey is that we've had Neely Martin and Mandy Freeman being the main models for this, because those are two players that are definitely Gotham, and they deserve their chance to shine. So I appreciate having those two as the face of the jersey.
Agreed.
Yeah. And let's move on to we got a game. We got a game to preview.
Woo.
It is Seattle Reign on Ion. And tell me if you feel like this is going to be the starting 11 going into this game, if everybody's healthy, considering we
I
don't know the injury report yet.
I think it is very close. I think
Mhm.
it's maybe right in the money, to be honest. We got a good
Okay.
combination of players that have already got experience from last season, and then Ortilia, of course, because you hear the nod here, which I think is really cool. Howell also.
Mhm.
So I think that's the right combination. It'll definitely be a combination of players that were on the field last year, and then new players that are new to the team.
Here's my way too early prediction, but Astaire up top. It's gonna be the 4-3-3. I think that's what we're
Yeah.
pretty standard, but it's obviously there are no positions in Gotham. Portillo on the right, Stevens on the left, then that midfield of Howell, Lavelle, and Martin. Gosh, that sounds awesome. And then the defense, the same one we brought into the semifinals: Freeman, David, Sin, Sonnet, Carter, and of course Berger in net. That is a strong starting 11. And then having Midge coming off the bench, hopefully, and these young players, I think it's gonna be pretty cool, pretty cool. And on the Seattle side, Seattle's a team that needs to, I guess, get their bearings together, because if you were outside of Lynn Williams choosing to go to Seattle, they really haven't brought anybody in. And they
Mhm.
seem to be losing players. And the past like 3 years, they seem to be losing more and more of their star players.
Mhm.
So they're going to be a mixed bag. I don't know what to expect from them, other than, it's a very standard Seattle attack,
Mhm.
as they usually do, go up the wings, play balls across that you're used to.
Yeah.
But I think Gotham has a good chance to get 3 points here on the road.
I'm in a total agreement. I think it's also unfortunate that they recently lost their forward Veronica Latsko to a
Hmm.
season-ending injury. I think that was a tough blow to them. Lynn, I'm sure being back home with as all star players do, will go out and want to compete and want to get a win in front of the home crowd versus her old team. So I'm sure she'll give us as much trouble as she can cause, as we know that she's capable of. But I do agree with you. I think we are definitely in a better setup, and our players are a lot more. The players that are returning have a lot more experience and a lot more, I think, combination plays capable in terms of play wise. So I think this should be a competitive game that they should be able to manage a win from.
I think the advantage to Gotham is their defense is intact. I think got Carter, Davidson, Sonnet, and Freeman, and then Martin in front of them. I think that's going to be
Solid.
the key to holding Seattle in check, because they all know their positions, they all know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's going to be good. Any manifestations going into this first game?
Again, starting off on the right foot, starting off with the
Hmm.
gas, pedal on the gas on the pedal. What was that saying? Pedal on the gas. They got to start out strong. So I
Yeah.
think 3 points, they should be able to um, start the season off strong. Oh, and no
Yep.
injuries.
Go. That is mine. No injuries. Let's have a clean injury sheet
Hmm.
going into this game. Yeah, hopefully we'll get those 3 points. Any random thoughts before we head out?
No, no, no. Just excited to be reporting and excited for the season again to start.
Yeah, and I have like this long list of like random thoughts. The problem when we don't do like a podcast for like a month,
Hmm.
so I just keep building them up. If you guys are like fantasy book readers at all, Six of Crows by Lee Bardugo is it's a perfect fantasy novel. Like she put her heart into that. It's perfect, absolutely perfect.
Your cat is so cute, by the way. I'm sure. I need to mention that. Just she's in the background the whole time, and I've been watching her. She seems like she's having a great time.
She's gorgeous, but she's a she's staring at me right now.
I
She's
think
like
so.
this fool. But yeah, so there's that. And what else is going on? Yeah, we'll leave it at that. We should start a book club, Gotham
Oh,
FC fan book club.
it's a great idea.
So, what are you reading?
Me right now, I actually went back and got out. I don't want to sound dystopian, but I got 1984 in Spanish. I
Oh,
want to like review my Spanish. My grammar, my Spanish is strong, but my grammar,
mhm,
if I speak, like a lot of native speakers are like, oh, you can adjust this and this. So I've been trying to read more books in Spanish to be able to like correct that a little bit. So I've been reading
mhm.
1984 in Spanish. It's a headache. It's a headache
Yeah.
for me to like process.
No, there's like, and I was at Barnes and Noble the other day, and there's like this whole like table of like it can't. Like, the headline was "It Can't Happen Here," and I was like, oh. And then like looking at all those books like 1984 and Anne Frank's Diary, and I'm like, oh gosh. Oh.
I will say, I also recently got to finish, well, I finally got around to reading The Handmaid's Tale and The Testaments, which is The
Hmm.
Testaments being like the follow up of The Handmaid's Tale. Incredible. I was blown away. I loved Atwood's plotline creation. She's just such a great storyteller. I've been on an
Hmm.
Atwood, Margaret Atwood spree the past like 4 months, and I love her books.
Yeah. I like the now that I'm like back at it and I have a free brain, we're reading a lot more,
Mhm.
and like I don't know, I just the state of things. I want to be as far away in a different dimension, different planets,
Alternate universe.
as far as I can get away from what's going on around here. So any book recommendations, just feed them to me, and I will read them. So, so everybody, again, follow us on social media, on all these channels, support us. We had our first, if you go to our X page, I hate it, Twitter page, there was a link to how you can support the show outside of just liking and subscribing. And someone left us our first like tip on coffee.
Oh,
I think it's called coffee, which was amazing. So thank you for doing that for us. We appreciate it. We don't talk to any advertisers and not making any money off of this. And this costs a lot of money for me to do. So I do this out of the love for now. Uh, so yeah, support us any way you can, and we look forward to seeing you at the home opener, March 23rd. That's gonna be at 5 p.m. That's gonna be on ESPN2 Orlando. So yeah, I'll see if we can get there early. All right, because now I got time. So I will see you guys all there, and Ruby will be back soon. She has a thing called the job. I know.
Missy Ruby.
Yeah, indeed. All right, we'll talk to everybody later, and we'll see you soon. Let's go.